Babadoa Chi-Chi-Cho, Duel Commander, go, go, go. Duel Commander on the way, Babadoa Chi-Chi-Che. Like and subscribe, please.
Hello, Babadoa Chi-Chi-Cho. Welcome to another episode of Duelcast MTG. Starting this week, I am going to be posting some members-only videos of me playing the format in a much more competitive mindset. The first one of these videos went up yesterday with Tifa Lockhart. So these are going to run a little bit differently than my normal videos. I am playing my league off camera so that I'm not caught up in the narrating and doing bits and making jokes and really just trying to play Magic to do well, which is not my normal inclination, if you will. So for this league, I am playing Phelia Exuberant Shepherd, one of the best decks in the format. There is some debate as to whether Phelia or Cloud is the superior mono white Death and Taxes deck. I personally like Phelia, so that's the one that I play. I'm not going to do my normal sort of lengthy go through the cards deck tech for these videos. They are really supposed to be a little bit shorter and about the gameplay. So Phelia is mono white, Death and Taxes, flicker value. We are mostly creatures, 36. I will talk about the cards that I'm trying out because I do think that's interesting. I'm trying out Phelia Guided by Light. The Moto meta right now is very red, and I want a little extra life gain. And I think just going Phelia, flicker it, get the gain 2 life, and then have it be a draw engine later on, and also a 3/3 is nice. The other card that is newer to this list is Hatut Zarazi Strike Force. XJ Cloud turned me onto this. It is a 4 mana 2/2, and whenever you cast a spell, copy it for each time you've cast your commander. So, and then it ETBs and is a disenchant. So sometimes you just get 3 2/2s and 3 disenchants. This card's awesome. We've got our Phelia finishers here, playing both Armageddon and Ravages of War, and then just the normal stuff you would expect to see in a mono white flicker deck. We also get to play Arkham's Astrolabe, which I like, and Tanglewire, which I like. So if this video is the kind of thing you want to see from the channel, please consider signing up to be a member. It would be greatly appreciated. It'll let me do a couple more videos and also keep the channel viable moving forward. With all that said, let's go duel. So round 1, I'm on the draw against Toph, and I see this opener with 2 removal spells and Recruiter of the Guard, and I'm just never going to mulligan this. They go Fyndhorn Elf, and I am just going to rip off the plow on that. Erode makes no sense because turning their dork into a land is worse for me. So I'm just going to plow the Fyndhorn Elf and move on with my life. They play a basic mountain and then pass with no play, and I'm stoked about that. Now I get to hold up the Erode and flash in Phelia, and I draw Pre-War, which feels pretty sick against a deck of red removal. Nothing's getting exiled, and now I don't have to Stoneforge for it. I can get Lion Sash, probably, because when they Earthbend a land and the trigger's on the stack, it's in the graveyard, and you can exile it with Lion Sash so that you actually get to destroy the land. So I'm going to flash in Phelia. I draw a Bodyguard, which I don't super duper care about. So I'm going to Recruiter of the Guard here. And they're going to discharge Phelia, and I think that's just fine. I do, for some reason, put her back in the command zone. I'm trying to figure out why I did that. I'm not sure. But Recruiter of the Guard resolves. I'm going to use the ability, and I'm just going to grab Solitude here. I want to be able to blow out their bent land without necessarily giving them anything. And next turn, I can attack and then ephemerate the Recruiter of the Guard and get whatever I want then. But notably, they missed their land drop. And now I'm feeling just insanely ahead. Toph is pretty far away. So I'm going to Arkham's Astrolabe, hoping to just draw my 4th land. I don't, but it's Skull Clamp. And Skull Clamp should be able to find me my land drops. Recruiter of the Guard as a vanilla 1/1, not doing a whole lot. So I'm going to attack, get my point of damage here, and then I'm going to Skull Clamp it. And I have Solitude Ephemerate for if it comes down Toph plus Bent Land. And I draw 2 planes, which I love to see. So now they find a basic forest, and they're going to cast Formidable Speed. And that's pretty scary. Though I'm no longer really familiar enough with Toph to know exactly what they're getting. They're going to pitch Kraza, which is Spider Punk. Makes sense because it doesn't do a whole lot. And they're going to grab a Badger Mole Cub. And While Badger Mole's really good, I am again still just holding up Solitude Ephemerate. I draw Rishadan Port, which against an opponent who has missed a land drop, I am very happy about. And I'm gonna pre-war Formalware back this Recruiter of the Guard and just get another free tutor. Well, not free, obviously, but get another tutor. And I'm gonna grab Guide of Souls because against their deck, against anything but Inkmoth Nexus, gaining life matters a lot. So Guide of Souls makes me pretty happy to get here. And when I Solitude Ephemerate, I'll get 2 life and 2 energy. The 3/3 Vigilance matters. They can't get through for chip damage with their Formidable Speaker. And now they go Cub. And with the trigger on the stack before this land gets bent, I'm going to Solitude Ephemerate. So Solitude on the stack the Evoke under the ETB, target the Cub, get my energy and my life, and Ephemerate the Solitude. They have a Lightning Bolt for it, but I'm perfectly okay with that. I get to keep my Guide of Souls. I still get rid of their Badger. And now they have a 2/4 against my 3/3 Vigilant and my 1/2 that gains a ton of life. And I'm feeling just insanely far ahead here, being able to push damage. And then I draw Tanglewire. And I don't want to Tanglewire before having Phelia. So I'm going to go Stoneforge here. And I'm going to grab Glimmerlens instead of Lion Sash, which in hindsight I think is wrong. But it lets me keep getting ahead on cards and putting bodies into play. I get to Rishadan Port their dual land in their upkeep. Glimmerlens gives me the creature I need to fly the Guide of Souls, and they're struggling here, and that is good for me. So I'm going to port their Taiga. Toph can't come down this turn, and that's enough for them to concede the game, which I think is a reasonable spot to concede. Let's go to game 2. So I've now broken parity on play draw, and I'm feeling really good about that. I like this opener a lot. We have Cloud to get a bunch of card draw or recursion. Archon of Emeria, I think, is great here because their non-basics coming in tapped is really nice for me. And then not being able to go like creature removal spell, attack for lethal, also feels real. I had the Onthanice in case they went Dork, but they just go fetch land pass. I'm going to go Plains pass. And now I have March for any sort of Earthbent land to just make it not a creature if it's something like the unblockable one. Valgavoth's Lair I can't hit because that's hexproof, but having the multiple removal spells, a grind engine, and a hate piece make me perfectly happy. And they again pass with no play. And I think the late game really aggressively favors our deck. So I am super content with how things are playing out. It reads to me like they're just holding up removal spell for Phelia. And again, they go land pass. I'm still going to hopefully make them use their mana on their turn and resolve Phelia. And then Voice of Victory is just a beautiful draw because now if they have that removal spell, they have to do it right now. And it's a Ghost Fire Slice, which, sure, Phelia can go straight back to the command zone. Now we have Voice of Victory to start pushing damage. We still have 2 removal spells and the Archon of Emeria coming, along with the Abandoned Air Temple, which is a really nice win condition, or a way to accelerate to the win. They play their Boseiju out, and I'm stoked to see that played as a land rather than held up as a spell. Then they go Sowing Mycospawn, and I know this is getting Inkmoth Nexus, and it does. And so now I'm under very real pressure because Toph comes down, bends the Inkmoth Nexus, they make it a creature, and they attack me for lethal. So right here, I kind of have to cast Archon of Emeria to have a flying blocker. I'm going to eat the Mycospawn first. Why did I not cast the Archon? Oh, because I have the March. That's right. I have the March to make the Inkmoth Nexus not a thing once it becomes a creature. So I'm going to cast Cloud, get my Skull Clamp. Even if they kill Cloud, it's really good with Voice of Victory. And I have the March with the Pitch Cast to get rid of the Nexus creature. So they start tapping all their mana, and they tap the Inkmoth Nexus, and I don't really know exactly what's happening, and then it's Icetail Explorer, and suddenly it makes perfect sense. Now they just get to go for lethal on their next turn. And Icetail is a real problem for me, for obvious reasons. It just, them having that much mana is a problem. So I draw Portable Hole, and don't really care about it. I have the Witch Enchanter as my land drop, so no matter what, I get to put the Archon in and chump. And then Ghost Vacuum's a really good draw because it does the thing I was talking about with Lion Sash of turning off the bent land. So I'm going to go Ghost Vacuum here, and just hold up March again. So Ghost Vacuum, Mother of Runes, and then March of Otherworldly Light. I do just lose here to a Legolas's Quick Reflexes, but that's kind of just a bet I'm willing to make. And it has to be Quick Reflexes, otherwise Reverent Mantra could do something about it. But drawing this Mana Tithe was a big nothing burger when they have 10 billion mana. But they're also dealing themselves a lot of damage with these fetch lands. So they're milling over a bunch of stuff. I'm paying attention in the game that I'm playing, but not right now. I'll just talk about the things I Ghost Vacuum out, which last time was a Dust Bowl. I really don't want to get 3 of my lands blown up. So Dust Bowl had to come out of the graveyard before Ice Till could recur it. And now they get to go Speaker, and that's a real stinker. They mill over their Lair of the Hydra, and they use Speaker to get Sylvan Safekeeper, which is really, really smart. I have the Reverent Mantra to maybe make them sack an extra land with the Safekeeper, but they can just go on top of it, and this Ice Till just keeps bringing everything. They are at 12 now, which the Phelia deck can do big bursts of damage. They get to go Toph. Now they can bend the Nexus and go for lethal. So right here, when they fetch, before they can potentially get a green mana for a Quick Reflexes or cast the Sylvan Safekeeper, I'm going to rip off this March of Otherworldly Light and just make that be not an issue for me this turn. So now that the March is gone, I definitely have to cast this Archon, which doesn't solve the big problem of Ice Till Explorer. They're going to get the Safekeeper, so now getting rid of the Ice Till Explorer, very, very hard. Just like, okay, we're probably getting grounded to the dust now. The Portable Hole, making them sack lands doesn't do anything. I'm not going to jam off a removal spell and target the Safekeeper. I'm going to go Astrolabe to draw a card. It's Draneth, which no longer really matters. It doesn't turn off Ice Still putting in lands. And so I'm going to cast the Archon to have the blocker and then put the Skull Clamp on it, because if I do need to block something crazy, I want to draw my 2 cards and then be able to Ranger of Eos, Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride in the same turn. They put Lair of the Hydra in, and I am pretty happy that they didn't choose to put Talon Gates in right away, because I forgot to Ghost Vacuum it on my turn, and them going Lair of the Hydra and putting the Ice Still trigger on the stack gave me the time to do that, because what they could start doing is just go Talon Gates, phase out my thing, sack it to Safekeeper, Talon Gates, phase out my thing, sack it to Safekeeper. But they do miss that, and now they attack with the Ice Till, and I am so stoked here to double block this thing and jam off the Reverent Mantra. Why don't I do that? So this is a terrible play by me. All I have to do here is double block and jam off the Reverent Mantra and give pro green. Instead, for some reason, I just chump and give Mother pro red, when 100% the right play there is to double block the Ice Till. They eternalize a Fanatic of Ronus, which stinks for me, just it's a 4/4, and now it taps for 4 mana. And they mill over Fury, and I'm happy to see it milled rather than played, even though I have the Reverent Mantra. A 3/3 double striker on this board is really good. So now I'm going to cast the Ranger of Eos and set up my Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride. There may have been some real wisdom in just holding up the Abandoned Air Temple there, but I want the extra blocker for this situation. I also now have the option to Ghost Vacuum the Fury and then put it in with the Ghost Vacuum, but they still have this stupid Sylvan Safekeeper Ice Till Explorer thing going that I can't beat. So they're going to activate Lair of the Hydra and make it a 4/4. I'm going to take a crunch of damage here, but hopefully this turn I make the right play and double block this Ice Till. Yeah, they come in with everybody, which I think is right. So, okay, yeah, I'm going to put the Archon and the Mother in front of the Ice Till Explorer, the Ranger of Eos in front of the 4/4. I don't want to kill Toph. I don't want Toph coming back and bending up that Nexus again. So I'm going to double block the Ice Till, chump the Hydra and the Ronus, and then give pro green and get this Ice Till Explorer out of here finally. Because with the Sylvan Safekeeper, this is the only real way I have to kill it. So the Reverent Mantra there is a pretty big blowout, and I am happy to have it. And I am going to slurp up the Fury and draw Staff of the Storyteller. I'm going to go to combat, and I'm going to get in with the Voice of Victory. I don't really care about the Grand Abolisher text anymore. I want to draw some stuff to make me feel safe in this game. So I want to start Skull Clamping 1/1. Although now that I'm looking at it right now in real time or in post time, whatever, do I have lethal with the Abandoned Air Temple? 2, 4, 6, 10, 12. They block with Safekeeper. So I didn't miss lethal here, but I also don't think I checked. Right, because I'm dead on the crackback. Okay. So now I Skull Clamp and I see this Armageddon and I get so excited that I play my land out because I'm like, oh my God, Armageddon is actually insane here. So I do the really bad play of playing my land out because if I hadn't done this, I could have just gone Armageddon, Plains, Guide of Souls, and then next turn gone Plains, Ocelot Pride, and that I think basically ends the game on the spot. This is still probably the most brutal Armageddon I've ever cast ever by like a lot. And the board is pretty stable. And so they play out a command tower, but Archon makes it come in tapped. And now I don't really want this Archon on board anymore. I would like to start casting a bunch of spells. And this game would be effectively over had I not played out that Plains. So they're just going to come in here with the 4/4 and the 2/4, both of which are good attacks. I'm going to block the 4/4 with the Archon to get rid of it, and block the to get rid of Archon, not the 4/4, and put Mother in front of the speaker and protect the Mother. And we draw Plains and Razorgrass Ambush. So now I've got the mana. I need to do stuff. I am going to Ghost Vacuum out the Ice Till, make sure that never re-enters the game and buries me. I should have played Guide of Souls here. I have the Voice of Victory. No, I couldn't have flown it yet. Okay, never mind. I didn't do that. Horribly, horribly wrong. Just mostly wrong. And now they're at 8. We're at 10. I'm going to discard a land. And next turn, I have Guide of Souls, attack, fly the Voice of Victory, start making cats. They go Hexing Squelcher. So everything having Ward pay 2 life is a little annoying, but it's not the end of the world. I'm just going to chump the 4/4 with the Ocelot Pride, let first strike damage happen so I gain my life, and give the cat pro black. I take 6 here, but I gain 1 back, so I take 5 and go to 5. But I'm about to start gaining just an insane amount of life, and I have all my land drops locked up, and I'm going to Ghost Vacuum out the Boseiju. So here's Guide of Souls, and I'm going to put the Clamp on the Voice of Victory, which I think is wrong again in hindsight. I could have just attacked. Wait, this whole turn was wrong. No, I didn't have a 1 mana creature. Okay, this is mostly fine. I want to gain my life and get my energy. They think about untapping something and don't. I think because they didn't have the mana. This is so weird watching it in retrospect. So they're going to block with the Formidable Speaker. I'm going to protect with Mom. No, I'm not. Oh, this is so weird. All right, so I just let the Voice of Victory go. Right, I have the City's Blessing. I let the Voice of Victory go, draw my 2 cards. I'm going to make 2 warriors and 2 cats here, gain 4 life, make 4 energy. Now I just have chump blockers forever, even through a Pyrokinesis, kind of just feeling fine. I have 7 cards in hand. I'm going to be hitting all of my land drops. They have 3 cards in hand, and now we have the same amount of creatures. They go Herd Heirloom, which is a mana rock, but it can also give trample, and I did not fully read this card. So I'm glad here that I block everything, I think. No, I think I just block 2 of the creatures. I decide I don't care about the Formidable Speaker. I'm going to chump the Fanatic, and I'm going to gain my life off the Ocelot Pride and then protect it. So I get to keep that. They give the Fanatic trample. And so I'm taking 3, 6, 8. But I gain the 1 life back. So I'm effectively taking 7. I go to 4. They are at 3, and I can just fly my Ocelot Pride in, and they concede. I did not realize when I was playing this in real time how sloppy it was, but we get the 2-0 off the power of Soul Clamp and Armageddon. The nice thing is this shows what a powerhouse Phelia can still be, and that Armageddon was just... Oh, I love Armageddon. Some of you may know that I'm an author. This is my first novel, The Vampire Gideon Suicide Hotline and Halfway House for Orphan Girls. This is a very dark comedy about mental health. Vampire runs a suicide hotline. People call and say how bad their lives are, and he says, being dead, way worse. This comes with heavy trigger warnings for domestic violence, sexual violence, and suicide, but please consider checking it out. Thanks so much. So round number 2 here, I'm on the play against Emry, and I see a hand with Esper Sentinel and Scavenger Grounds, and I am never ever even considering mulliganing this. They mental misstep the Esper Sentinel, which is kind of a stinker, but I still get to curve out Phelia into Toby and have the scavenger grounds to turn off combo lines. But they're going to get a turn one Emry here, which is scary. And also, they have the bauble to just draw tons of cards. Claws of Gix gains life, which matters. I draw land, which I do not love. And I'm going to resolve Phelia right now before they can untap to potentially counter her, because their deck is not very good at removing creatures. It is good at countering spell. There's also the fact when I see this matchup, I'm like, oh great, I just sideboard into Thalia, and then how do I lose? So I'm even if we don't manage to steal this game, I'm still feeling just great in the matchup. They go Arcane Signet and Ornithopter. Emry is going to rebuy the bauble. They're going to play it out and then float a mana and sack it. They'll use the mana for Chromatic Sphere, which is another draw engine out of the graveyard. So I have the choice here. Do I go Scavenger Grounds and bomb you now, which wouldn't make sense because it would leave them with the Chromatic Sphere? Or do I just cast Toby and try to kill you? And I think the correct thing is to cast Toby and try to kill them. And I still do, because now they're under real pressure. They don't just get to dirtle around all day long with this bobble draw engine, because next turn I am attacking for 11. So they don't block with the Thopter, which I think is fine at this stage of the game. And what I'm hoping for now is that they want their cards right now, and then I can bomb their graveyard next turn with the bauble and the sphere in there. And they play out an Inventor's Fair, which gains life, which irritates me. And they also still have the Claws of Gix to gain life. So this 2 mana up is a pretty clear counterspell, but I'm still going to rip off the Voice of Victory because I think it just basically ensures the win. They remand, which is the most annoying one for me. I would like to get this Astrolabe into play, but this puts them on the clock of deal with all of this, win, or you die. And it's just so much pressure that I'm not willing to pass up. So they go to 5 here, and we have 1,000,000 damage. So they can't go Inventor's Fair and play out an Ensnaring Bridge, which is Ensnaring Bridge is the thing I'm kind of like, oh, I really don't want to see that. They're going to draw off the Chromatic Sphere and then float a bunch of mana and concede the game. So this one felt really easy of just curve out, Phelia, redrop that deals a ton of damage, and go. So for this second game, I have sideboarded into Thalia because that card is atrociously bad for them. I see the opener with Scavenger Grounds again, and I am stoked because I get to go Giver of Runes into Thalia. They play a Grindstone, and now I'm kind of like, oh, well, maybe I'm just dead on 3. And then I rip Portable Hole because sometimes you just do. And we are a deck full of removal, but I'm going to jam this Grindstone straight into my pee hole, because when a Grindstone's in your pee hole, it can't hurt you the way it can hurt you when it's in a game of Magic the Gathering. Am I right? Grindstone in the pee hole. LOL. They go Disruptor's Flute, which will name Thalia, and it's fine. So my options here are to go Giver Pass or Scavenger Grounds Giver, and I'm going to choose to warp this Shepherd because there's no point holding it when we don't have Phelia in the command zone. And I want to lock up my 4th land drop because I drew this Parallax Wave. They play an island out and Skateboard. So Skateboard lets them go 1 mana Emry, equip, and play out something that they milled right away, which I don't love for me, but the Grindstone is at least taken care of. So they mill over Transmute Artifact, Maze of Ith, Winter Moon, and Urza's Cave, none of which I care about in this. So they equip the Skateboard, and they're going to get in for a point of damage, which they should. Winter Moon takes out one of my lands right now, and I draw Path, which I think is fine to probably just use on a creature of my own. I don't really want them recasting Emry ever at this point. It's just not a relevant enough combat object. So I'm going to cast Recruiter of the Guard, and I'm going to grab Lion Sash, because between Lion Sash and Scavenger Grounds, I think it's really hard for me to lose the game. They go Chromatic Sphere to get a draw engine online, play out an island, play an Expedition map, which can get the Inventor's Fair, which can get whatever they want. But that's the whole turn, and with what my hand looks like, I'm not even really concerned about casting the Thalia. I'm going to Lion Sash, I'm going to get in for my point of damage, and I'm just going to pass. Anything they target with Emry, I just get to eat in response. Maybe I should have cast the Giver of Runes here, but I don't think I need to give them a spell to counter. And before anything weird can happen, I'm just going to eat that Chromatic Sphere with the Lion Sash. So they crack their Expedition map, and they get Urza Saga. And we don't have Phelia in the command zone now to deal with the Urza Saga, but they also don't know we have Parallax Wave. And Parallax Wave is also really good at dealing with constructs. They tap Emry for their Expedition map. I am just going to eat it with the Lion Sash. And with this 2 mana up, oh, they also get to Bauble. But I think it's a mistake here to Bauble and put it in the graveyard right away when maybe it could be more useful as affinity for the moment. Because now I'm just going to eat it with the Lion Sash. Again, I just don't really want anything weird happening. And I draw Season Dungeon. And taking the initiative against them seems like it'll be really, really nice. But I'm going to play it safe and just put the Parallax Wave into play. They can start pooping out constructs next turn, and happening. They can start pooping out constructs next turn, and I don't want those to be around at all. Plus, I just get to attack for 5 here. So they go to 14 and I pass the turn. They go back to 4 cards in hand. I'm not going to P-Wave Emry. Again, I just don't really want that being cast. And they're going to put a skateboard on this Shield Sphere. The only thing they can cast out of their graveyard is Winter Moon, and that stops their... Oh, they could have untapped their Saga. They might have... Maybe they should have played out the Winter Moon. But I'm going to keep counters on the Parallax Wave for as long as I can. And we drew the Hatut Zarazi Strike Force, which is notably worse when you haven't cast your commander. But I'm going to go for Dungeoneer here, and they're going to memory lapse it. And I think I'm just fine with that. Maybe I should exile this Shield Sphere, but if they want to make this block, it dies anyway because it gets... Oh no, it starts as an 06. Okay, so I'm just going to let them make the block. This thing doesn't pressure me. They have 1 card in hand. I have Graveyard Hate on board ×2 and Parallax Wave. It might have been correct there for them to block with Emry, and that way they get to recast Emry next turn and then give it haste. But again, I'm just going to leave my Lion Sash mana up. So they put a construct in, and I just immediately Parallax Wave it. They're going to put another construct in, and I'm going to just immediately Parallax Wave it, get those out of here. And they get a Pithing Needle, and they name Lion Sash, and I think that's the correct name. So now they get to recast this Winter Moon with Emry, and it does shut down 2 of my lands, which is annoying. However, I'm going to hold priority and exile my Recruiter twice so that I get to tutor now that the constructs are dealt with. I'm going to untap the Scavenger Grounds in case I decide I want to use it. E-Wave goes away, I get Recruiter back. They're still showing 2 blue, but I'm not playing around anything at this point. And Recruiter gets me Skyclave to get rid of this Pithing Needle so that I can keep exiling stuff from their graveyard. I'm going to swing in for 4. And now they're not going to block with the Shield Sphere because it would die to the block. It would get the -0/-1 counter, become a 1/4, and take 4 damage from the Lion Sash. They play out a land. They're flooding pretty badly and still only have the 1 card in hand. And I'm going to eat this Urza Saga with the Lion Sash. I draw Mother, which doesn't do a ton, but I think now it's finally Thalia time, because now that I've cast Thalia, I can Hatut Zarazi to try to blow up 2 artifacts if they find they're ensnaring bridge or something. So the fact that this spell copies itself makes it pseudo uncounterable, and I can hit Disruptor's Flute and Winter Moon, or if they do find the bridge, I just get rid of it. They do now decide to take the block on the Lion Sash with Emry, which I think is right. And now I'm feeling so rolled up here with the Lion Sash to just hit whatever they mill with Emry that I'm kind of feeling like just do whatever you want. I don't think any of it super matters, right? Because we have more tax, removal spells, protection. We've got the whole 9. And so they mill over Tezzeret, City of Traders, Force Spike, and Daze. I'm going to eat Tezzeret with Lion Sash at end step. Doesn't really make sense not to do that. And for some reason, I leave the Scavenger Grounds tapped. But now I'm going to go Hatut. I think just to put the power and toughness into play, I still have the Lion Sash to exile something that they might mill over. And they hardcast a Flare of Denial, but I still get the second Hatut Zarazi, blow up the Shield Sphere. And why am I casting a spell? Right, don't do that. No, stop. What am I doing? I cast Esper Sentinel. So now I don't have Lion Sash up, and this is an opportunity I just gave myself to lose the game. That was crazy. Okay. They block. What did I do? They block with Emry, which is the right move. Maybe I was thinking like, oh, I just have lethal here. It doesn't matter, but they have a blocker. So regardless, we have Thalia in, but now I can definitely lose the game. They cast Emry. They mill over Sewer Valence Scam, Otawara, Moonsnare Prototype, and land. So they can haste up Emry, cast the Sewer Valence Scam, untap Emry, but that's right, I remember what happened now. So they recast the cam, but they only have the mana to sack it the one time because of Thalia. And they'll draw 2 cards, but I don't think it matters at this point. And yeah, so they draw their cards with the Sewer Valence Scam and concede. Very, very bad to tap out of that last mana. If I just leave that mana up, I can basically never lose. And because, well, realistically, I probably didn't even need to cast the Hatut Zarazi. I just leave up Scavenger Grounds and Lion Sash, and I could never lose the game. So it is so interesting watching these back. We got there, but not in a way that makes me super happy with my play. Regardless, we're sitting at 2-0. This is my latest novel. My therapist says this grief journal is a good idea. This is a dark comedy about family trauma that explores what it means to grow up in an unsafe home. Heavy trigger warnings for domestic violence and suicide. But again, please consider checking it out. Nothing bad happens to the dog. The dogs are the love and catharsis of the story. Felt necessary to put that out there based on the cover art. Thanks so much. Round number 3 here. On the draw against Sorin of House Markov. To my knowledge, this is an Orzhov combo deck that wants to gain a bunch of life and use Sorin's backside ability to deal you lethal damage. So they want to like renounce, sack all their permanents, gain 20 life, and shoot you for 20. And I'm looking at this hand with 1 land, 2 lands, right? So we have the Witch Enchanter and the Rishadan Port. And I'm going to keep this because I think Mother of Runes is really, really good in this matchup, and I have 2 removal spells. They go Guide of Souls, and that's the kind of card that in their deck can just snowball super, super quickly. So I think about casting Mother of Runes and then decide, you know what, I'm just going to have to exile this thing in their upkeep. I don't want it getting out of hand, and I still have the Solitude, the Port, and the Grind Engine. So they shock themselves with a Multiversal Passage and cast Cecil. I don't mind Cecil. Esper Sentinel's a little more annoying, but I've got a grip full of good creatures, and Cecil dealing them damage kind of makes me happy. Then I draw Containment Priest, and now Phelia, exile all your creatures forever, gets to be online, and they go Inquisition, and I think about doing something, maybe flashing in Containment Priest, and then realize there's no real need to do that. They do take the Containment Priest, but I have the pre-war Formalware to bring it back. That's what it was. So I was thinking about flashing in Containment Priest, and it just dies to removal anyway, and I don't get to cast Phelia, but now I get to cast Phelia and then pre-war Formalware back the Containment. And I'm going to flash Phelia in. I draw Seam Rip, which is nice for dealing with Sorin if they do manage to flip it. And I'm going to attack here before bringing back Containment Priest, because my thinking here is maybe if Phelia dies, which she does, do I just want to pre-war Formalware Phelia back right now? And then I can flicker the pre-war Formalware to get back the Containment Priest. Instead, I make what I do think is the more responsible play and just put this Containment Priest into play as a 3/3 vigil. They cast a Tithe, and they go to him to Turok me, and I think about deciding, okay, Solitude, Cecil, whatever, but I think it is generally better just to let the him to Turok happen, and they get Mother and Staff, which are the 2 cards I would prefer them to take. I still now have 2 removal spells, and I don't care about this Cecil hitting me when I can just remove it before it flips. I'm going to see if I can speed this video up a little bit. So I draw Armageddon, and I love Armageddon. I'm going to Seam Rip the Cecil now, get in for my 3 points of damage, and then just pass the turn. I have Solitude if I need. They Cling to Dust out my Staff of the Storyteller to draw a card. I'm going to port them, and they do not cast Sorin. So now I have the Gemstone Cavern, and I want to attack first. They're going to march the Seam Rip, and Cecil does not come back because of Containment Priest. So they concede there. regardless of if Cecil does come back. No, yeah, if Cecil comes back, it's kind of an issue, but Containment Priest doesn't let that happen. So now let's go to game two. So now we're on the draw, and I really like my hand. Curve out, Esper Sentinel, Phelia, Staff of the Storyteller, or Recruiter of the Guard, probably Recruiter of the Guard. And this is a snap keep for me. So they go fetch land, pass. I'm pretty happy not to have gotten Thoughtseize. I'm going to jam off this Esper Sentinel. They're going to surveil. I drew Glimmer Lens, which is also good. And they go Draneth. And now I'm just thinking, okay, great minds think alike. Here's a Draneth. Pass. Oh, this goes really quickly. Hold on. They cast Mossio. This is a, when you gain life, you get to reanimate stuff. I'm going to try just playing it through on fast mode and narrating really fast. Please comment if it's watchable or not. Now we hit play. They don't have good attacks, so they don't make them. I'm going to hit my land drop and cast Recruiter of the Guard. Recruiter's going to grab me Cloud. I really want to just bury them in cards since our board states are staying pretty even. And now they're going to go Dr. Doom. And for whatever reason, alarm bells aren't really going off in my head. I'm like, okay, cool. You've got this guy, whatever. I still want to just draw a million cards. So I'm going to get Cloud Skull Clamp Cloud, draw 4, figure I can just hit removal for Dr. Doom, who cares? And they Demonic Tutor, and then Tainted Pact, and we lose this game to the AB combo in a game that was shaping up very much in our favor. If they don't combo off this turn, we Skyclave Dr. Doom. We have Protection, Ocelot Pride, Flicker Wisp. We can blow up all the lands. Like, if we don't get comboed here, we're super, super ahead. But Dr. Doom being another Thassa's Oracle type win condition that you can just now put in any black deck to combo with Tainted Pact and Demonic Consultation is super, super relevant to the format. Game 3. All right, so game 3, they mull to 6. I love my hand. Just tithe their turn 1, Phelia, Toby, and try to just beat down super, super fast. So I go Plains Pass. They go Fetch Land Pass. And I'm like, I didn't get to use my Mana Tithe. Whatever, doesn't matter. Now I get to just hold up Phelia here and the Mana Tithe again. They go Surveil Land. I'm Mana Tithing anything here. And it's him to Turok, which I am pretty happy to use a Mana Tithe. And then I rip the land off the top, which makes me very happy. Go Thalia here, slow them down as much as possible. So now they have to go tapped land, tapped creature. I get to Palace Jail because I drew that land and take the Monarch. And now they're behind by basically every metric. And Tangle Wire seems sweet. I don't love putting the Tangle Wire in without Phelia to flicker it. They go Dark Confidant, which is really good. However, I get to attack them for 5 and draw cards. Why didn't I attack? Oh, I wanted to defend the Monarch here. So I want the Dark Confidant to deal them damage, is I think my thinking here. They go Damn on Thalia, so I'm glad I didn't attack, but they also go Silver Quill Charm on my token. They will get to get the Karlov back, get the Monarch. Now I'm behind, and I don't love that. But I'm going to flash in Phelia, draw Bodyguard, play Tangle Wire, protect the Phelia with the Bodyguard, blink my Palace Jailer, get the Monarch back on combat, and then just eat the Karlov again. They're at 9 under a Tangle Wire, and Dark Confidant deals them 4 with a Witch Enchanter. Then they get to Demonic Tutor. This is going to plow Phelia, which is super, super reasonable. They're dead on board otherwise. I have to tap for my own Tangle Wire. I'm going to do Dust Bowl, Tangle Wire, Glimmer Lens. Now I get to Recruiter of the Guard. I take Solitude, but now they're at 3, and I'm going to let this Dark Confidant maybe kill them, because I would just really like that to happen. But they hit land, and now they have Halia and get to go Sorin. So now they gain the 2 life, and they duress me. And I'm going to pitch to Solitude, the only card they could have discarded. I'm going to get rid of Sorin, because I think the way they win this game is just comboing me again. Halia goes to Warp. I'm going to tap down my 2 artifacts. I draw Spectacular Spider-Man, which seems really good. And then I Skyclave the Dark Confidant finally, cast an Ocelot Pride, attack them for 3, they go to 3, and they concede the game there. So much cleaner win here. And now we are 3-0 in the league. Abadoa Chi Chi Cho. This video is brought to you in part by Mana Traders. Mana Traders is the rental service I use so that I can bring you all of these different decks super, super easily. Playing a new deck on Magic Online is as simple as pasting in your list, clicking Rent Deck, accepting the trade. It pops right up. They'll send you the entire list. You just drop it into the trade, Click submit. The best part of all of this is that you can support the channel and get a discount on your subscription using promo code DuelCastMTG. Mana traders, be a better player. I think hitting just like the play button on the replay and letting it rapid fire may have been a little too fast, so I'm going to go back to just clicking and try to do a better job of that. But match 4, we see Tivit, and that's not a very good thing. These hard control decks can be really tough for Phelia. They just kill and counter all of your things, run you out of resources, and then just start drawing cards and drawing cards. The real issue comes from wrath effects. One for oneing against Phelia often turns out to be a losing endeavor. Regardless, I'm not super happy to see Tivit. So they're going to go Hall of Storm Giants, aka untapped blue land, and pass. I keep my hand based on the strength of Thalia and Tanglewire and Elite Spellbinder all being really, really good against the control decks. Because the control decks can be rough matchups, we have a lot of tools to fight against them specifically. However, it just doesn't feel great. They predictably go land pass. I draw Path to Exile, which I don't hate because it's 1 mana removal and Pivot makes its own mana anyway. So just getting it off the board so it can't attack me for 6 seems like a good thing to be doing. I don't want to rip Thalia into all that open mana. I would rather them counter Phelia here and then get to resolve Thalia, because then I can just recast Phelia. But Phelia just resolves, and I'm like, oh, okay. You actually have nothing? So I play my land, and I'm going to cast Thalia to play around a Force Spike, and I'm going to attack, and I'm not going to flicker Thalia. I think the 1 point of damage is less important than having the tax for the full turn. And they flash in a Snapcaster Mage, which will trade with Phelia, but it's kind of whatever. The worst thing that's happening in this game right now is them having the Crystal Vein to just bring Tivit out ahead of schedule. Really hard to beat a 6/6 flyer with Ward 3 that makes mana and draws cards. So they shock in their Hallowed Fountain and pass the turn. And I think the only way I ever win this game is by just casting my spells. But I also have the option of, if they want to go Tivit, I can cast Path to Exile with the trigger make tokens on the stack. They have to sack their Crystal Vein to get him out here. And if they don't do anything, I just have Flash and Phelia. But they go Kyle's Guile. I am starting to vaguely remember this game. I Flash and Phelia here, and it's wrong. I should just let Thalia die. They jam out a Tivit. Well, maybe this baits out the Tivit. I'm not sure. But so they're gonna cast Tivit here. And they're gonna choose Bribery twice. And I'm also going to choose Bribery. They have 4 cards, but I would rather them have just mana than mana and card. So I draw Urza Saga, and I really like Urza Saga against the control. I want to simply path Tivit here and get back to pushing down. Tanglewire is no longer good when they have all these tokens. So I'm going to path and pay the ward before they can untap with even more mana, but they have the mental miss. And so I'm going to seam rip a treasure out of basically pettiness, because this game is essentially over. So now I'm going to hit the play button, as I think this is where the game kind of was won. I can't attack now. They're going to swing in with Tivit, put me to 14, get 3 more things. I'm going to give them a clue this time because it kind of doesn't matter. And they keep voting Bribery. They sinkhole my Urza Saga, and now I really don't have a game plan. So I'm going to go Recruiter, or I'm going to go Spellbinder. And it gets countered. Phelia gets bounced. I'll replay Phelia. She'll get 4 spiked. And we've definitely just lost this game. I'm still playing for some reason. Normally, I would have packed this one in to get to the next game. They hit with Tivit again. I go to 8. I take my draw, see Cathar Commando, pass Recruiter of the Guard. I think I want to see if there's anything that matters in my deck. And they go Tishana's Tidebinder on it. And that's where I'm pretty good packing it in here. So down a game now. So now in game 2, we get to be on the play, and anytime I'm on the play with Phelia, I feel pretty good, especially when we see one of our best one drop. So I'm going to go Guide of Souls here, plan on either mana tithing or flashing in Phelia, and they go tapped land, and I'm thinking, okay, let's just resolve Phelia, right? Like, they are mostly counter magic heavy. I just want Phelia in here, and I can start pushing damage. So I'm going to crack in with Guide of Souls and pass the turn. If this is the board state come next turn, I have the Ephemerate and the Mana Tithe, and I can still cast Lion Sash to get an energy and a life. So I'm really liking this. And they miss a land drop. And I draw Ravages of War. So I needed to hit a land drop to go Flicker Wisp there, which is what I would have liked to do. And because I didn't draw the land, I'm just going to hold up Ephemerate and Mana Tithe here. I could have maybe flickered the Guide of Souls to grow Phelia, but it's the same amount of damage this turn, and I don't want to run into like a cheeky stifle. Now I've lost Guide of Souls forever. Reverent Mantra feels like a pretty good draw. I'm still not ready to go. I shouldn't have cast this Lion Sash, I don't think. Yeah, okay, so it lets them remand, which is the best possible counter they could have had in this scenario where they're hunting for lands. I don't think I should have cast that. I think I should have just kept holding up Ephemerate, Mana Tithe, and chipping away. That's okay, though. They hit another land drop, which stinks for me. And I think I'm starting to just lose focus on what I'm supposed to be doing in this game right now as I'm playing. Because now I'm like, well, I took a turn without casting my spells. Let's cast my spells. So I go for Bodyguard. It's just a good protection creature and gets me the energy for Guide of Souls. And now I'm going to crack in for 3 again. So they're at 10. I have the Ephemerate and the Mana Tithe to protect. Also, I have the Path to Exile. If they do go to remove one of my creatures, I think I'm at the point in this game where I'll let them waste the removal spell and get a land, especially if they target Phelia, because I can recast her and I need to be hitting land drops now. So they cycle off a Pest Control and they play a Flooded Stream. And so now they've unlocked their Mana Screw and their hand is 6 spells. So they Fatal Push Phelia, and I am going to Path her here. Just, okay, you used your removal spell. I get to finally find my 3rd land now that you have found your 4th. And if I draw a land here, I might want to Ravages of War, but I draw Toby. And Toby, I'm going to rip off because the 2 bodies let me now fly the guy. But they have a Tidebinder for it, which I am perfectly okay with, knowing that I have this Ephemerate and the Reverent Mantra to stop my creatures from getting removed. So they tap and untap their mana, and they're not going to attack with the Tishana's Tidebinder. I find my 4th land, but since they have a 3/2 on the board, I can't just try to jam Ravages of War. So I'm going to Ephemerate Toby in the hopes of flying this Guide of Souls over the Tidebinder to then blow up all the lands. They go Voidrend in response to the Ephemerate, and I'm gonna rip off the Reverent Mantra, and I'm gonna pitch Flicker Wisp because I just don't think it's doing very much right now. So I give Pro Blue. Mystic Sanctuaries, they're only land up, and Tidebinder is blue. So I don't know, it just seemed right to do blue. Now I'm also going to cast the Lion Sash. They're going to Spell Snare it. That's fine. What I'm really hoping for is that they just try to jam Tivit in and I get to Mana Tithe it and then Ravages War. So now I get to fly in my Guide of Souls. They go to 5. I have 1 energy, so they don't know my hand, but any 2 creatures make lethal. I have not quite lethal on board, but I do get to attack for a lot of damage next turn. Oh no, yes, I do, because the Ephemerate. That's right, I just remembered. So now I get to Ephemerate Toby, get the requisite 3 energy to fly another creature, which would be the Toby Beast token. And I target with the Ephemerate, and they go Shieldred's Edict, and they choose token creature because it doesn't really matter if that's all they have. Toby comes back, I get my 2 energy, so now I'm at 3, and the Guide of Souls can become a lethal attacker. And I also could have just Ravages of Ward if this didn't work for whatever reason. But we do get in there to deal the final 5 points of damage. And now we have to beat them in game 3 on the. So I'm looking at this opener and I just really like it. We have 1 drop, Phelia. If Phelia gets countered or killed, we get to bring her right back with the pre-war Formalware, Tech Edge, and Dust Bowl to stop them from getting to Tivit mana in a way they can't deal with other than the Tidebinder they've shown us, or a Tail's End probably. Although if they're playing Tidebinder, they're probably playing Stifle. Regardless, I get to go 1, 2, 3 here. And I also have the Air Temple to push damage with a variety of bodies. So I go to cast the Duke, they get a Scrubland and Mana Tithe it. As soon as they floated the white mana, I was like, sure, whatever. They bolt in a Soporific Springs, which makes me think they don't have a second land or that they don't have a different blue source. I draw planes, and I'm just going to pass the turn here. We have Phelia at their end step. So they missed their land drop and pass. And now I'm like, great, counter Phelia. I do not care at all. Like, please counter Phelia. Because that means you don't have more blue swords. And then I draw Flicker Wisp. And as soon as I see Flicker Wisp and the fact they missed a land drop and that their blue source, if you Flicker Wisp it, doesn't come back, oh boy, am I ready to go. I am jamming this off. I'm never thinking twice about it because if there's anything you know about me as a Magic player, it is that, oh, they cut down Phelia. That's right. They cut down Phelia. I was gearing up to do like the whole bit for a short. Hold on. Give me a second. I'm going to do it. Just give me 1 second here. All right. Because if there is anything you know about me as a Magic player, it's that I don't play red card. And I love me a Stone Rain. Nice flipped sink into stupor. That was a soporific springs, but when it gets flickered, it can't come back because it's a spell. Now you've got 1 land and I've got a 3/1 flyer. Can you get out of this situation? And they missed their land drop again and passed the turn. And now I'm just like, okay, I don't think I can ever lose this game. I probably should have just Dust Bowled them. I think in hindsight, I should have just Dust Bowled them, but I was high on Stone Rains after that Flicker Wisp. Just absolutely on cloud 9. And so also now what I get to do here is nothing else. Never mind. Yeah, I should have just Dust Bowled them. I think if I Dust Bowl them, I can actually literally never, because we Dust Bowl them and then I just, if when they do eventually hit a land, I just start Flicker Wisping. The Flicker Wisp comes in at end step and takes their lands forever, but they miss their land drop again, which is just very bad luck, and then scoop the game. But Flicker Wisp was a Stone Rain, and now we're 4-0, and we're going in there to match 5 for the trophy, brother. Have I been doing Macho Man Randy Savage this whole time? I think I probably have been. All right, well, we get to play for the trophy now. All right, so now we're in the 5th and final trophy match on the draw, and I see Bridget. And my brain immediately goes, well, that borks, because I have played this matchup a good amount, but on the Bridget side. And the amount of matches that I've lost, I can count on one hand, and it doesn't use all my fingers. The problem with Bridget versus Phelia, for Phelia, is that Bridget is a hyper consistent combo deck that is pretty hard to interact with, and their backup plan is being a bigger mid-range deck than you. So before the match even starts, I'm already like, oh, well, great, I lost. And that is not the mindset you want when you are competing. So I'm basically feeling terrible, and gameplay hasn't even started. And they go fetch land pass, which is kind of the best start I could have asked for. So I'm going to go Bodyguard here. I have the Solitude and the Aven Interrupter and 3 lands to be able to do all of it. So I go Bodyguard pass, and they crack their fetch land. They're going to go Lush Portico and keep the card on top. The thing playing against Bridget is all Bridget needs really to win is like 2 lands Manadork Tutor. And so I think they rip this Utopia Sprawl off the top because, or well, Surveiller to the top, because they go land Utopia Sprawl and now Badger Mole Cub. And here I have a really hard choice to make. Do I Solitude this Badger Mole or do I wait for Bridget? And I think it is correct to get the Badger Mole because it's just such a problem throughout the whole game. So I'm going to Solitude this with the trigger on the stack and hope that that buys me a turn or 2 to maybe turn things around. But now they'll still have 3 mana before I can have this Aven Interrupter up, and that doesn't feel great. So I draw Stoneforge and decide I'm going to pass in case there's some like weird attack and I can maybe use this Razorgrass ambush, but at least we are now playing the game. So I'm going to get in for my 1 point of damage with Bodyguard. They hit their land drop, and now it's Bridget time. It's not Bridget time, it's Ranger of Eos. That's worse for me, genuinely, because now they get to go get 2 1-drops. I don't remember what they are. Like I said, I kind of just checked out mentally before this even started, which was terrible. They get Bodyguard and Mother. So that's really, really horrendous for me. And now I'm going to flash in Phelia. And what I should probably do is flicker out the land to deprive Bridget of 1 mana. So I bolt in the Razorgrass ambush. I do nothing pre-combat. I want to hold up this Aven Interrupter. So I don't... right. Okay, this is what happened. I now remember. So I attack with Phelia thinking I can blink out the bent land. But Phelia says non-land permanent, so I couldn't. So it's just a bad attack, and it tilts me off a little bit. They block with the Ranger of Eos. I snap off the bodyguard. At least either way now they're down a body, but I also no longer have Phelia, which is bad for me. And had I known that I couldn't flicker the stupid land, I probably would have gone Stoneforge. But I'm also thinking like maybe Armageddon is good here. They have the Solitude. So now they get to keep their Ranger. Phelia has to go to Command Zone, so I can't graveyard it and pre-war it back with Stoneforge. I basically have to Aven Interrupter whatever their next play is. And I don't have the fourth land, so I can't Enlighten Tutor for Parallax Wave. So with Phelia, I wound up just flickering out the Utopia Sprawl because I'm not flickering out their Ranger of Eos. That would be insane. And now they can go Brigid, but instead they go Bright Glass, which is maybe the best card in the deck. I'm going to snap off the Aven Interrupter on this. And my plan here is draw the land for Armageddon, and then I make the world's worst block and trade off with this stupid Ranger of Eos. And now Bright Glass is free because I wasn't even thinking about the tax that Aven Interrupter puts. And at this point in the game, I'm just clicking buttons. So I'm going to Stoneforge. I'm going to grab Pre-War Formalware in the hopes that something messed up doesn't happen and I can instant speed Formalware for Aven Interrupter. But they just have the free Bright Glass now. They get to cast Brigid. They have Mother. They have Mother Bodyguard, Swift Recon. Now there's a Haywire Might. And I think it would have been fine to concede at this point, but I'm still looking for a land to maybe do anything. And I don't even know. So I think about going pre-war here, and then I'm like, why would I ever do that? I take the 4 from the Bright Glass, and I'm just basically dead on board. So I draw Spellbinder, which is not a land, and I just scoop the game up there and decide, okay, game 2 on the play should be able to go a little bit better than this one. All right, so we both keep 7. I really like my hand. I like the Plow to deal with a Mana Dork. I like the Curve if I draw land to go Phelia into Spellbinder. I think Spellbinder is very good here early. They make so much mana, it kind of doesn't matter, but then they go Ocelot Pride, and I can't really let them have an Ocelot Pride. So I plow it right away, play my planes, and pass the turn. They go Fetch Land and Benevolent Bodyguard. And Bodyguard is really problematic in Brigid because especially against a monocolor deck, where they can just say you don't have blockers this turn. So I'm going to play Phelia in at their end step, and then I'm going to play the Ancient Den out and cast the Elite Spellbinder. I want to see if I'm imminently dead or if I have time to do some stuff. And I look at their hand, and it's awful. It's 4 lands and Seed Cradle Witch. Great. So I'm going to take the Seed Cradle with Spellbinder, obviously. And then I'm going to just bash in for 2 here. I'm going to blink the Spellbinder to grow Phelia. I don't think they're ever making this block, and if they do, I would love that in life. And then next turn, I have Ranger of Eos or Steel Seraph, and I'm feeling pretty good because I know their hand right now is 4 land. So they're going to get a Surveil, and they keep the card on top, which means it's not a land. And I look at their 4 lands again, and now it's their turn. They go Brigid, and I think this next turn, my turn, is where I lose this game because I'm going to go Steel Seraph here and just try to be like, all right, I'm going to try to kill you now. And I think what I'm supposed to do, right, I go Steel Seraph and I flicker the Steel Seraph to make it a 5/4. What I'm supposed to do is give Phelia flying and flicker out their Kithkin token to take a mana off from the flipped Brigid. So I lose the game essentially right here. Sorry, spoiler, I lose this game, but I know that they have a 3-mana Seed Cradle and that they need 3 bodies and Seed Cradle to make Brigid infinitely large, and that they have the Benevolent Bodyguard to get through blocks. So they're going to flip Brigid. We know they're hitting their land drop, pass the Seed Cradle, and now any other creature, which their deck is full of, makes it lethal, but they slam an Earthcraft, which is the same thing because now they can get the Dryad Arbor for that final creature. They can Earthcraft to untap, cast the Seed Cradle, and now Brigid will make mana neutral mana that will gas her up to lethal, and they can Bodyguard. My opponent and I were messaging whether or not Steel Seraph was colorless, and they Googled it, and Steel Seraph is colorless. So they don't jam off the bodyguard. I block to buy a turn. I go Ranger of Eos. I'm going to use the ability to see if I have anything colorless to block again, even though it doesn't matter. Now, all the creatures are gigantic. And I'm going to go Phelia and blink out the token and hope that their next draw is not a creature. That's my out. Their next draw is not a creature. That's all I can really hope for. And I probably should have Zerazi'd the Earthcraft, but like I said, I was kind of out of it from the start, mentally speaking, and they show me a creature, and that will let them combo off and win the game. And so we finished this league 4-1, which I'm still happy about. One of the reasons I'm doing these competitive ish leagues are that I need to refill my account's play points and treasure chests so I can keep doing leagues without it being a cost to me. So 4-1, I'm happy with, but this game was winnable. This game actually should have been a win. If I don't care about the Steel Seraph being a 5-4, which didn't really matter, I flicker out their token. They can go Earthcraft, whatever. They don't have enough creatures to make the Brigid infinitely large. And then I get to just Steel Seraph attack with the 3-3, and we probably win the game. So the lesson I'm taking from this one is just the matchup doesn't matter. You just play the game to the best of your ability and the best that the cards you draw will let you, and that's how you win. And that's what I did the 4 previous matches, and look what happened. So yeah, good learning moment for me for sure. And then here's the little picture of our prizes for going 4-1. Phelia is awesome. I love this deck. I think this deck is just always good. It's just always good, no matter what you're playing against. Phelia is good. You have all of the tools and all of the value to go fast or grind. And I think this is a great deck to pick up to learn the format. I am working on a getting started in Duel Commander video. It's taking a lot longer than I was expecting because I want it to be kind of evergreen and good. But if you don't play the format and are interested in it, just pick up this deck. If you build it without the City of Traders, you can build it for under $500 which for a Magic the Gathering Eternal format is budget, sadly. But yeah, this deck is awesome. I love playing it. We did really well with it in this league. And if you're still here and hanging out, thank you so much for dueling with me, and I'll see you on the next one.